King Casey O'Neill joins us for the first time. It's a pleasure to have you on, and still in the gym, only a few weeks out from your fight. I mean, at this point in camp, I guess life is the gym, right?
Yeah, I mean, kind of has been for a couple months now, and we're coming down to the end of it. I got one last week of training, and super excited to get that out of the way and just get in there and fight, which is the fun part. So almost done with all the training and all the bullshit. So not long left in here.
You get to fight Roxanne Modafferi, who has come out and said that this will be her last fight in the UFC, the last fight of her career. I think it'll be her 45th fight or something like that. To be able to be the one to retire a legend like that, has that sort of come into your head at all?
I mean, not really. That's sort of her side of the fight. My side of the fight is just going out there and winning the same way it is every time. Obviously, it's awesome to be able to fight somebody who's been around so long, and everybody knows who they are. But yeah, no extra pressure or extra feelings for me. It's a fight at the end of the day, and I'm gonna go out there and get another finish and do what I do. And definitely nowhere near the end for me, which is the more exciting part of all of this.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. You're very, very young in your professional career still. I mean, you've only been doing this since 2019 in the pro game. Your amateur career didn't really start off quite so well. Can you tell us a little bit about the earliest days of your career and those first few amateur fights that maybe taught you a few things?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been doing the sport or some form of the sport. I started kickboxing when I was 4 years old with my dad because he was a professional kickboxer at the time. And yeah, I don't know. I just think that maybe I jumped into the MMA cage a little bit too early. But if you took me back to that time, you couldn't have told me it was too early. I was 15 when I got into my first fight. But I'd been fighting people at school. I'd been fighting people in car parks and everything. So I thought I'd had plenty of experience for that, So yeah, I wasn't going to be told no. And my dad let me do it anyway. Had a fight, obviously lost that one. It was pretty heartbreaking and decided, let's try again. Lost that one as well, which fucking sucked. Not going to lie. That was probably the darkest period of my life. But I just decided, it was either going to make me or it was going to break me. A lot of people sort of fell off the Casey wagon at the time and decided that, they should start telling me to do other stuff. And that just pissed me off and motivated me at the same time even more. And I moved gyms, trained for 2 years, like a crazy person. And came back and went on a win streak, which is still going. So it doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish.
Absolutely. And I know you took your talents over to Tiger Muay Thai for a little bit, trained with the Hickman boys. What was that experience like for you? I know a lot of the people, particularly in Australia and New Zealand, head up there at least for a few years to do a little bit of training before coming back home. Was that something suggested to you, or was that just a path you decided to follow on your own?
I always knew sort of that I wanted to, keep moving as I evolved, and I felt like I had done a lot in Australia and really wanted to try something else out. So decided to sign up for the Tiger Muay Thai trials, which was something they used to do. It's like a 4-day experience where you sort of apply for it. They choose a certain amount of people to come over and try out. You train twice a day, super hard, where they just try and break you for 4 days. There's like a big Buddha run, which is like 4 kilometers just straight uphill. There's a pad session with the Thais. Obviously there's like a sparring session, a jiu-jitsu session, a wrestling session. It's all super hard, and yeah, they just sort of see who's got it and who doesn't. Give out some scholarships to last a year over there, with your visa and food and everything like that. So I was lucky enough to go over there and do that in 2019. Ended up getting a scholarship off of them and stayed. Never looked back. So I went home, packed up as much stuff as I could, and was on a plane again the next day back over. And yeah, best decision I've ever made in my life. I love the Hickman brothers. Hickman brothers are like my brothers now. I would never have left if it wasn't for COVID and obviously betting on myself for the fight. So, it is what it is. I hope to get back there one day soon. Sorry, these guys have distracted me a little bit. It's okay.
It's all good. It's all good. It kind of happens when you're in the gym. People walk past.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No, you're right. Yeah, it's all good. It's a more genuine experience for the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got a cut on my head. I got like cut over here. Whatever. Not taking it.
Was that all from hard sparring or just?
Yeah, I think it's honestly people's fingernails because people don't know how to cut their nails that well. So I always end up with these little nicks all over my face from that.
I guess since we're talking about the gym, how's life been training at XC down in Vegas?
It's great. You know, when I was leaving Thailand, obviously a lot of stress again because I bet a lot on myself to do that. And sorry, I keep doing this. And obviously I had no idea where I was going to go. So I'm so grateful that Xtreme's where I ended up. I have a lot of really good training partners here, and I have a lot of really good coaches here, and a lot of really good people that I look up to, you know, coming into the gym. One person that I don't know why I said super, that I really looked up to was Joe Benavidez. You know, he was here training. I managed to catch the last couple of camps that he had. So that was super exciting for me. And yeah, just seeing people that have been there, done that tell me, you know, that you have it. It's really comforting because, as I said, I didn't start very well. And a lot of people sort of weren't on my side for a long, long time. And now, you know, I've got a lot of people a lot better than me telling me that I'm going to make it. So, yeah, it's been great here.
Shout out Joe Benavidez, MMA's biggest Taylor Swift fan.
Yeah, I love him. I'm not sure if I love his music or his film genres or his fashion, but he's a great guy.
When you were back in Australia fighting on Eternal, I believe you were their first strawweight champion down there. How was the experience?
First and only strawweight champion, first and only female champion.
There you go. How was the experience back then? 2 years ago, Eternal was sort of still a growing platform. I mean, now they're on UFC Fight Pass. They're putting on a bunch of shows. It seems to be where all the top talent from down this end of the world try and make their name. Back then, was it a similar case, or was it more just a case of it doesn't matter where I fight, I will fight wherever just to get my fights up?
Yeah, well, obviously my dad was the owner of Eternal and is the owner of Eternal, so it was a very easy mix for me to fight for him. And obviously that came with his challenges too. Everyone's saying that I had easy fights and whatnot throughout my whole career, but fighting for Eternal was the best option in Australia, as it still is. It's the only one that's been around forever, the only one that like actually pays well, never like skips out on paying everybody. Is on a good platform and actually gets you places. So people have started to realize that, but we knew it from the beginning. My dad's done a really good job at building the platform for Australian MMA fighters and for New Zealand MMA fighters over there.
Were you at all surprised when you got the call from the UFC? It was quite early in your career. You didn't have to go through contenders or anything like that. That was just straight in there, straight on, and straight into making everyone take notice of you.
I expected that, to be honest. Like, as soon as I had my fight in Abu Dhabi, I went over and cornered my friend Loma Lukbunmi on Fight Island and met Mick. First day I met Mick, I told him, I said, hey, I'm coming to Vegas after this. And, you know, I got 3 months until you're going to sign me, but you're going to sign me. And then I forced myself upon having lunch with him every single day that we were in Fight Island. Every time he was having lunch, I went and sat next to him and had lunch with him. So obviously he knew who I was, and came here, as I said, on a tourist visa with 3 months to make something happen. And within 2 weeks, I got the phone call to take a short notice fight. Unfortunately, fell out because I managed to get COVID from the land of COVID here in the USA. So, yeah, that was an experience in itself, but it was a good one because I got a full camp for my first UFC fight and obviously, you know, did big things last year.
Yeah, were you expecting quite as big a year as you did have? I mean, 3 fights, 3 stoppage wins. That's a hell of a way to make your name in the UFC.
I mean, yes and no. Like, you talk to everybody that I know and they'll tell you that I'm nuts. Like, the UFC will call me for a fight, and I was like, yeah, all right. Like, even if I'm like, hey, I'm so tired, like, let's take a break after this one. If they call me and they're like, you want to fight this person, I'm like, all right, like, sure, let's run it. So I knew I could do big things, and I knew that I was going to be able to hang with the best in the division. So I just had to go out there and prove that to everybody. And once again, it lit a big fire under my butt to make sure I was like finishing people. I want to be known as a entertaining fighter, you know, not someone who just goes to decision every time they fight. And I'd had a couple of decisions, which was really starting to piss me off. So I decided that I was just going to start finishing everybody. And that's still my goal. I'm going to go out there and finish Roxanne on February 12th. And whoever comes next, you know, everyone can get it.
Like you say, February 12th, it's only a couple of weeks' time now. UFC 271, pretty big card for the Australian and New Zealand fans. I think there's 7 of the people from this region fighting on the card. It's a little bit of a showcase for us. I guess huge fight at the top of the card too. What sort of, I guess, what's the word, mindset do you have going into that, knowing that, you know, it is such a big card? Does it change anything for you?
It just excites me more because this is what you think about when you sign. You know, when you think about signing with the UFC, as you're coming up, you think of the crowd, everyone screaming, big card, you know, winning and getting that pop from the crowd and the energy and everything. And I haven't had that. I've had 3 silent fights in an Apex, so I'm actually getting like the full experience this time. Stoked for that. And obviously being on a card with so many high level Australian, New Zealand fighters, like when you think back, when has it ever been as good as it is now, you know? So I'm part of that wave and I love it. I love that we're all going to be fighting at the same time and the same night. Just wish it was in Australia, but next time.
Do you still have people that get quite surprised if they haven't talked to you? They know you're from Australia and then they hear you talk and it's like, wait, that's not an Australian accent. Do you still get people that are like, they don't realize you're Scottish as well?
Yeah, I mean, some people are always like, oh, you can only be one or the other or whatever. You know, I call myself a Scozzie. I'm Scottish Australian. You know, I was born 100% Scottish, moved over to Australia when I was super young and, you know, lived there for a long time, went to high school there, made friends there and came up in the MMA scene in Australia. So I'm both. I recognize myself as Scottish Australian. Oh, sorry, someone called me. Yeah, I recognize myself as Scottish Australian and always well, so the naysayers can get fucked. My accent, no matter how hard I tried to change it in school, in high school, it never changed. I think that the Scottish accent's just like a really strong accent. It got a little bit better and a little bit less harsh, but it's not going anywhere. I love my accent. It's a mix of both, and it's the Scozzie accent, one of one, so, you know, could be better.
Exactly. And on the Australian New Zealand scene, I mean, like you say, right now is probably the biggest it's ever been in terms of what the fighters are doing on the world stage. What do you think can be attributed to that? Is it just a matter of the sport growing in popularity and more athletes now looking to do that? Or is it just a case of the talent that we have now being discovered?
I think we've always had really good talent. I think it was just a fact of a couple of people breaking through and opening those doors for everyone else. So, you know, once everybody realized that it could be done, everybody stepped their game up a little bit, you know, and everybody's getting there now. Got a lot of high level gyms and a lot of high level coaches, high level fighters and high level shows in Australia and New Zealand. So I think that this is just the beginning. I think that we're going to have more and more people coming through. And I think that Australian Anzac MMA, should I say, is way more exciting than any other region at the moment. It's super exciting times.
What's the plans like now with only a few weeks left? You said earlier that, you know, you've got 1 week left in the gym before you start tapering off. At what point in the fight camp do you really start to turn on that fight mentality? Because I see it a lot in the guys down here, like maybe a couple weeks out from the fight, their mindset completely switches. They go from being real jovial and jokey to just absolutely locked in and focused. Do you sort of go through the same thing?
I'm always locked in and focused. I would say that like my fight week though is is a different animal altogether. And then me on fight day, I'm just ready to die. I'm out the back, just, you know, like ready to die. So I would say I go through like 4 different switches of mindsets, but I'm never the jokey type. You know, I take this very seriously. I've moved away from my family so many times growing up and moved from country to country. I moved to Thailand with $3,000. Like, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I just knew that I was giving myself no option but to make it. So my mindset stays the same. You know, it's just kill, kill, kill. I have no friends when it comes to fighting. It's just go time.
In terms of the year ahead, you've got Roxanne in the way at the moment. She's sitting number 12. Are you hoping that by the end of the year you'll be getting the title shot, or is that something you're not really thinking about at this stage?
I don't care about getting a title shot this year. I would rather just get like a top 10 opponent by the end of the year, and then spend next year maybe working my way into the top 5, and then maybe the following year get the title shot. I'm in no hurry. This is a marathon for me. I'm 24 years old, not looking at retiring anytime soon. I've had 8 professional fights, no time to finish. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna move because everyone keeps talking around me. Yeah, I'm just excited to see what I can do, and I'm in no hurry to get a title shot. You know, I just want to be the best fighter that I can be every time I go out there.
Do you think young fighters like yourself might sort of try and rush things? Like you say, you're very focused and following a plan. You know, you've got a long career ahead of you. Do you think sort of young people like your age kind of don't really think that way?
Yeah, I think that everybody looks at it like they have to take every opportunity that's offered to them. And then also when you start getting things like the big paychecks for the first time in your life, a lot of recognition for the first time in your life, you know, like people hyping you up and stuff on Instagram. Everybody loves that stuff, you know, so it's kind of hard to slow yourself down, but you got to really be honest with yourself and your assessment and, you know, where you're at, and not take it too quick. You know, you don't grow in fight camp. So if you're always taking back to back fights, you're never really growing. So I think that it's important for people to take a little bit of a slower route, because if you just sprint all the way to that finish line, you know, you pass out a couple of steps before it, nobody will remember your name. So that's the most important part for me.
Just lastly, before I let you go, we had one of your fans drop in a question. Isaac is a bucket on Twitter, just wants to know what your dream fight in the UFC is, but not Valentina. You can't answer the title shot.
Okay. I have a couple. You know, I guess I've looked up to Joanna Jędrzejczyk for a long, long time. So that would be a fun one. You know, I love her. I think that it would be great to fight your idol one day. So fighting Joanna would be a great one. And maybe Henry Cejudo. If they ever did that, that would be a good one too.
Excellent. Well, I'll leave it at that, Casey. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope everything goes to plan on February 12th.
Thank you. Appreciate it.